the family that I work for, really, they never offered to file for me. And I wasn't too enamored to have a family file for me, because then I would have been committed to them. And I've heard so many horror stories of people being committed to the families that file for them and treated inhumanely. And I wanted to always have the ability to leave the family if my treatment was become too ridiculously inhumane.
I've been through some things, you know, sleeping on a mattress that pissy, telling the employee the mattress needs change and I need a new one, I can't sleep on this. I mean, and he knew well beforehand I was coming on the job and couldn't even give me a new mattress. All those are things why I just couldn't stay on a job.
I know that there's a time limit to it. I know that there's going to be an end to it. But what I left in Guyana, right now there seems to be no end. So I prefer to be in New York, going through these situations and circumstances, because I can see that there's an end to them. It's not the be all and end all. This is not what I'm gonna end up, but I can see the future, and it's brighter in New York than it is in Guyana.
So it's like, why am I here? Sometimes it's like you feel it's like I'm just gonna pack up and go home. Just let me leave New York. But what are you gonna go back and do? Jobs are hard to come by now. Even here in New York now, they're hard to come by. Because you can't even find a living job.
And then there is the aspect of children. These women dutifully take care of other people's children while sacrificing years and valuable quality time with their own. There are almost always stress fractures in the bonds with their own children that are oftentimes hard to repair.
They hire you to take care of their child. They want nothing to do with the child. Absolutely nothing. Keep the child as far as away from me. The lady in Long Island was like, she would like to meet the person that invented school. So why did you get a child then if you didn't want to have the responsibility? It's in camp all day in this summertime, which it should be fun, which and it is fun, but you should be spending time with this child. But the child is in summer camp. You're at the beach sitting, sipping a martini or whatever, you know? You should be spending time with the child, but they don't. Yeah, they throw the biggest parties, you know, and they have a ball, but it's not for the kids, it's for them. Because back here in the winter time, the kids are in school too. They even find after school programs for them. So it is like, so why did you get the child? For somebody else to raise?
When I started working as a babysitter, I was working 6 days a week. I had a 2-month-old son. I had to leave him. I lived in for 6 days. I saw him 1 day a week from he was 2 months old. And, you know, it's talking about it still hurts, because at 6 months I had to send him back to Guyana. In fact, I had to send him to Guyana, you know, and he spent a year. I tried, you know, bringing him back with me. But it was still difficult, because most of the money I worked for, I had to pay now his babysitter to keep him. So it was just that I was just working to pay a babysitter for him, and I still didn't have him with me. In 1995, I got a better job. I was living home, so, you know, I sent for him. He came back in 96, and he's been with me ever since, but it is really difficult. And he's still, you know, I also have a daughter, and she was born in Guyana. My son was born in America. He's born in Brooklyn, but my daughter was born in Guyana. I had to leave her in Guyana for 4 years until her father, who's American citizen, sponsored her, and then she came up. But, you know, both of them are still detached from the 4 years that I left them in Guyana, that I left my daughter. She's still slightly, not as connected. She's still detached from, she missed me for the years. And she remembered my job in Guyana that, oh, I know somebody, sometimes she said, oh, I know somebody who was a weather forecaster and now they're not doing anything. She's sarcastic a lot of times in regards to my job that I had to do in New York, because she know that, while she was with me in Guyana, I was the boss in the office. She came with me to the office. She had pride of place. And then when she came to Guyana, I had to leave when she came to New York, is that, I left her and I had to tell her be quiet. She cannot come to my job and run around, and, she didn't have that pride of place. So she was, she's still very hurt, and I'm very hurt now for the way she reacts to me. And I thought that I was doing, what was good for her. That's why I came to America, to improve her life, because I didn't have my son then. I came to America because I wanted her life to be better.
Leaving my kids wasn't hard because I know I was leaving them in a person, my mom, who's capable of taking care of them. After all, she raised me, and that was 10 years ago. And they come like every 2 or 3 years, for a holiday. One of my daughters hated me for leaving. My oldest was 11 and my youngest was 9 when I left. But as I said, I didn't leave with the intentions that I wouldn't be coming back. I came with the intentions of taking care of my sister kids while she was sick and then returning. But it didn't work out. And I mean, here I am where I should be home taking care of mine, and I'm here taking care of somebody else's own. And it's like the things you gotta do for theirs and you're not doing for your own. I mean, yeah, you're still supporting the child, but you're not having the quality time with them that they want you to have with their kids. My kids, my youngest came like every 2 years with my mother. And the first time I had my eldest come was 3 years, could be 3 or 4 years ago. And my youngest was rebelling before I came, but it got worse. Because she felt as though I abandoned her. My eldest never even knew I was coming to New York because she lived with her father's mother.
While I was working as a babysitter, the family did know that I was undocumented. They did know that I have a 2-month-old son. And in making it so impossible for me to spend time with my son, I had to work 6 days. And that was one thing, that was what I contracted to do, work 6 days a week. But they made sure they were, not, I think they were a bit inhumane that even on the 6th day when I should have been going home, they had me in their home until after midnight, knowing I had a 2-month-old son to go home to spend 1 day. And they had me home, in their homes until after midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning. I left as soon as they came home on the night that I was supposed to leave, even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I left in order to get down to be with my son. I think being undocumented, I don't think that made it more difficult, because I think that is what they were looking for, somebody who they can do that to, somebody who, have no voice. And that is the type of people they look to be their babysitters, because a normal American babysitter would not take that. They would not go through, what I had to go through.
And the future? What does it hold for these two women?
I don't see myself really returning to Guyana not to live, but I miss the camaraderie of the people, of being known, of being respected. I miss that, in Guyana. But I don't see myself returning to live in Guyana. I might go to Barbados because I spend a lot of time in Barbados. And I love my experiences in Barbados. They're actually they're very, very, very good.
And as the immigration debate rages on here stateside, many of these women stay separated from families and country.
My mother died in Guyana. I couldn't go back. I would want to go back to visit her tomb. I want to go back and visit my father's tomb. And I would like to, really, but as a matter of fact, saying that I would like to meet, some of the people that I worked with, but a lot of them are in New York, as a matter of fact, that I worked with. A lot of them are dispersed around the United States. So, I can see them here, but just my relatives. And as time goes on, as the family extend, we still intend to, as we get more footing and settle in America, to bring our families to America with us.
Since this interview, Pat has become a licensed practical nurse, and many things have changed. Kathy has found a family she can work with and has been here in Alpine, New Jersey for the last 5 years. Even though she says with the living situation, she only gets to spend on average about 6 to 8 days a month in her apartment, she is content for now. These are two of the better stories. The endings are happy, but the journey to get here was not so easy.
My advice to anybody who wants to come to New York, if you want to come, but I'm not telling you, leave your job or leave and come and see how it works out. Because as we always say, come live and come see, or come visit and come live. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy.
And what about people who might be saying, I had enough of this, maybe they don't have a good job in the Caribbean, and it's like, it's the lesser of two evils?
Well, it's up to them. They gotta think real hard before you make that final decision. You need to think long and hard. Long and hard. Even if you do come and get one, you don't know how long it's gonna last, because the way the economy is going, people are losing their jobs all the time. You may end up getting a job with a couple who has a housekeeper / nanny, and all of a sudden the man get laid off or the lady get laid off. You're then going to be out of job. There are very few people who can afford to still keep you, but a lot of them, I've had a couple of friends who got laid off, or the person they were working for had to let them go because their husband or their wife wasn't working anymore with the two incomes coming in anymore, so they had to let them go. But if they want to try it, come. But me personally, and one of my kids or anybody in my family wanted to come and try it, I wouldn't advise them. I wouldn't advise them. Sorry. Maybe when the economy gets a little better.
Next episode, we'll hear from Valda and Roxanne. I'll also follow up on what has happened and all the life changes. And of course, the never-ending chase for security and the quote-unquote American dream right here in the city. This is Links, keeping you connected.